All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite warlock here and practicing necromancer. And today, I got a few things I want to discuss. Hey, the Black Tower, welcome back, my friend. Welcome back. So now, so today, anyways, I want to talk a little bit about some stuff that I've been doing and kind of going through. And I think it's important because a lot of practitioners of the left-hand path go through this from time to time, and you will go through this from time to time. So, anyways, let me talk to you about what's been going over the last week for me. Okay. Um, basically, my job as a dietary aide is done. I basically called it quits on that job because it was no longer benefiting me. Not just because of the fact that there was a lot of disrespect, being treated as a second class citizen by the RAs, management not doing their jobs. There's a lot of things that came down to my decision to leave that place. Okay. But it doesn't mean that I will not be applying somewhere else because there's always some place that you can learn from. And since I'm getting into psychology, okay, I started my psychology course back on Monday, okay, the 24th. So that's something that is awesome. I'm really excited about this course. I've learned psychology through religions, but from a medical perspective, I've never done it that way. So learning thanatology and psychology, dealing with socialism, sociology, okay, going back into anthropology, for an example, you're seeing cultures and how they lived, how they operated, how they um, implemented certain things. So, psychology plays a huge part in this. And it's not just about the study of death and dying, the sick and the ailments that people go through, but you're also mapping the mind, you're studying the mind. For an example, when you go into meditation, what are you doing? Okay. We talk about the third eye, right? The third eye, right here. Okay. But how many people actually understand that concept of opening up your chakras in your Kundalini? Okay. The tree of death and the tree of life from the Hermetics, the Kabbalah. Okay. Buddhism, Hinduism. Okay. They all discuss this, not just Hermetics and that of, say, the right-wing fascists, such as Islamic, or Judaism. Well, maybe not Judaism, but or Hebrewism, but mainstream Christianity does teach you about psychology in this area and about mapping your mind, getting into that mind state. And when we do rituals, okay, we're putting ourselves in a state of mind state. Christopher Penziak wrote in The Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft. He wrote that the mind is separated by three levels. Okay, three levels of consciousness: alpha, beta, and omega. Okay, when we go into spiritualism and work in the spirit, in the spirit, it doesn't matter what path you're on, you're going into the alpha frame of mind. Okay, the beta is where we are any other time. And when we sleep, when we slumber, we're in the omega section. Okay, because we're always alone. I mean, it doesn't matter what we dream about, we're always alone. Okay, so that, and then from the front of the brain, the frontal lobe, to the base of the skull, you have seven sections of the brain that deal with various different aspects of of your personality, basically, of who you are, what you're able to deal with. Are you left-handed or right-handed? The left lobe and the right lobe of the brain. Different portions of the brain deals with different emotions, different characteristics. So you're going into literally mapping your own mind. So in occultism, when they say you have to begin, the journey begins with you, you're literally transpiring within yourself. This is known as alchemy of the soul, okay, in a lot of different aspects. And recently, since I got into psychology, I've been really hitting the books hard. I've been hitting the internet hard, and I've been studying everything from politics down to businesses, down to the average Joe. Okay, the and it is spectacular. I mean, I even picked up a, journal, okay, just for that alone, and I be it's amazing what I found so far just on political aspects, and I thought I'd take a moment and kind of read this to you, and this you can even go into, Sun Tzu, The Art of War. You can go into, the Book of Meditations by, Marcus Aurelius. You can get into, say, for an example, Stoicism or Shintoism, okay? All of this stuff deals with both political and spiritualism, okay? But it deals with you. If you get into Buddhism, not Buddhism, let's go with Bushido, the way of the samurai, okay? One of the things that made them so feared and great for so many years, so many centuries, is because they were all when they go into battle, they already knew and accepted the fact they may not come back alive. They accepted death. If you go into say for an example, the Ars Bardo, okay, the Art of Dying, known today as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it is the soul's journey that you are studying. Okay, when you're dealing with clients, when you're dealing with family in the community, when you're dealing with, if you're into the medical field, you're dealing with the patients. Okay, so you're studying the transcendence of the soul from the time you're born to the time you kick off and go into the next world. But one of the phrases that caught my attention was from Sun Tzu, The Art of War, and it says, "Hence to fight and conquer in all your battles is not supreme excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting." How many of you have heard the term water takes the path of least resistance? Think about this for just a minute. Water is the softest stuff on earth, and yet it can fit into any container. It is free momentum. Okay. In the Bible, in the book of Mark, it says, it shows Jesus, the man, standing on top of the Mount Hinnom with two of his devouts, his apostles. And in the background, a rift opens up, a portal. It's known as Jacob's ladder because they're watching and they witnessed angels ascending and descending like a ladder. Okay. This is what the Kundalini is. This is what the chakras are. Okay. If you think about it in this definition, your root chakra needs to have a sound and supremely strong foundation. In the corporate world, it is said that business owners are planning for the future. Okay, they want finances, they want financial success. So instead of building, say for an example, a foundation for a house, which is what the average Joe does, you need to be looking at the Empire State Building. You want to start building the foundation for skyscrapers. So when we get into the opening of the Kundalini and the chakras through tantric or yogic meditations, you're really using visualization techniques. You're using remote viewing techniques, not just the meditation itself, but you're looking inside you. You start at your base, and there's a lot of different books out there that describe this in different ways. You can see it as colored discs. You can look at it as different perceptions. Um, One of the former elders in the path that I walk had a PDF that I found, and it was very, very insightful when it came to the chakras and how to discern the root chakra from, say, the abdomen or the heart, the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the crown, or whatever. So there's a lot of different aspects to it that you got to envision, because when we add elements, when we add in the cardinal directions, we add in the ailments that we experience throughout our journey day to day. We are literally experiencing so much. Some of it good, some of it bad, and sometimes there's things that we just don't want to fucking deal with. Okay? So the stuff that we don't deal with, we shove to the back of our heads, right? This is known as the shadow portion of the brain. Okay? If we look at serial killers, right here, the frontal lobe, because they don't have it. They don't know how to tap into it. So they lack sympathy, they lack empathy. They lack the moral understanding of what is right and wrong, okay? This is what psychology does. It allows you to understand the mind. It's no the terminology is called mapping the brain or mapping the mind. This is something that is very, very intriguing and enlightening. And I do recommend that if you want to start mapping your mind and start understanding your mind and evolving through evolution and getting into psychic abilities, I recommend Christopher Penziak's books. The two that I would highly recommend right off the bat would be the second book, known as The Temple of Inner Witchcraft, which deals with psychicism, uh, opening all that stuff up and dealing with all forms of mediumship and understanding the historical accounts of it, not just the techniques that allow you to get into doing it. That's the main thing. The second is the temple of shamanic witchcraft. And this is really where what I refer to as dark um, psychology. Because if you think about it, you really are going to a very dark place when you go into your third eye, when you go into your own roots, your own chakras, your own kundalini, and you begin exploring your mind, because you're going to the darkest, most distant reaches of your mind, especially when you go into rituals. Rituals are a way for a practitioner to achieve spiritual enlightenment, spiritual healing. But it also allows you to use what is known as black magic. Black magic is a form of personalized benefits. Okay? Benefits of using black magic allows you to basically say, I don't give two shits about this person who's running for the same office as me. I will cast a jinx upon this individual. I will cast a hex upon this individual, just to give them such bad luck and to keep them occupied that they get frustrated and lose focus upon their objectives, so that I can do this. Okay? So I can get this position. Well, I started paying attention to the 48 laws of power. I started paying attention to the 33 strategies of warfare. And over the last few months, I've been implementing these to my life. And it's ironic to see the benefits of this. Every time this RA gave, that looked down on the kitchen staff or barked orders and basically thought she was superior, a god complex, massive ego out of the, uncontrolled ego and pride. And if you call her out on it, she runs to the HR lady known as, and of course, this HR lady is going to jump right into it and go, "Oh my God, you can't be doing that." Well, guess what? You get dragged into the office, right? You get dragged in front of HR, you get dragged into the terminal manager's office, and guess what? This is where you're forced to make a decision. This is where you make that decision. Am I going to keep taking this abuse, or am I going to step up and be the alpha predator? Well, guess what? If you have to become that serial killer in a proverbial sense, sometimes it's best to step up and be an alpha. Okay. For an example, let's say, for an example, you want to make a profit. You have to put your foot down. You have to be ruthless. I caught an ad. Well, I wouldn't say it's an ad. It's more of a little documentary where there was an interview with a rich guy that about 10 years ago, back in, no, actually about 10, 20 years ago. I think it was like late 90s, early 2000s. This guy was making roughly about $14 billion. Okay. By 2022, he was making $144 trillion. The question was that was put forth that caught my interest. Who's benefiting from this? Who would you say would benefit most by what you do? And the guy said, me. The guy said, me. Because if you look at it, it is about your time, it is your company, your money. Okay. It is your life to either waste or to build upon. Creation within the philosopher's stone is a form of alchemy. You have to create it, you have to nurture it like you would a child. If you slack off, you fall into stagnation. You fall into the category of an everyday Joe where you're frustrated all the time. You're worrying all the time. You're depressed all the time. You're angry all the time. And a lot of this comes down to psychological warfare. There was a hour and 18-minute documentary that I saw on YouTube, and it dealt with three black magicians. And one of them was talking about two different aspects of the last 8 years. Okay, the last 8 to 12 years worth of presidency. Candidates were known as Obama and Trump. Okay, and then if you think of Biden, you see the same thing, and this falls into the state of what is known today as Obama's fainting ladies, but it is also known as War, how to control the populace. How do you control people to make them do what you want? You see, it's a form of dark psychology. So if we go back to Betty Crocker for an example, and there's a little thing called the Betty Crocker paradox, or and what this is, and I'll get into both of these right now as well. Is the first is Betty Crocker paradox. Okay, about 70 plus years ago, when Betty Crocker first came out and started putting out cake mixes, for an example, this was a great product. It means most of the work was already done. So they put it in a box and they shoved it on the shelf, figuring, hey, it's going to be a massive seller, right? Wrong. Nobody even touched the fucking thing. So they went to psychologists and like Sigmund and Freud and Freud's nephew, the founder of marketing, public relations. And they went to these psychologists in the early 19th century, and they said, "Hey, why are people not buying this shit? Why are they not buying our product?" And they went off for a couple of weeks and contemplated, looked over everything, and they came back and said, "Add instruction, add, add some ingredients, instructions. But it's just simplistic things, right?" So up until this point, people were known for making cakes from scratch. Flour, you know, sugars, grain. You got it. You got all the, yeast and all this stuff that comes into making cakes. And then you got to make the batter and all this stuff. People back then, this is what they did. This is what they knew. So when they first saw this cake mix, they were like, "What the fuck? How, what is this?" So what they did to correct this, after talking to these psychologists, was they just simply add an egg, add an egg. That was it. Three little words. Add an egg underneath the instructions. They just put a label. That was it. Okay? That's all they did. And it flew off the shelves. It took off like a bat out of fucking hell. Okay? So exactly the laws of equilibrium. And it's that thought form, you know? By adding in those three little words, people are like, "Oh, okay. So I don't have to do all this shit. All I got to do is add the egg to the batter and then bake it." Wow, incredible. So public marketing was born. Okay. So we fast forward to Obama. Okay. We to the painting ladies of Obama. And every time they had, I think there was like between Obama and Trump. And I guarantee it, if we look back at the election process and all the meetings that they had within the public eye, from all 50 states, I guarantee you'll see it with just about every freaking president since Sigmund and Freud. It's time. There was always somebody who fainted in the audience. Every single meeting. I think they showed, what was it? I think they showed it was like 7 to 10 different instances where it was either a child, a woman, 9 times out of 10, it was a woman that just collapsed out of the blue during the little speech. And of course, the candidate suddenly knew what to do. Okay? They knew what to do. So here's the psychology aspect. Is there a doctor in the house? Of course, there's EMS right there. Wow. EMS. Give them some room. Here's some water. Takes water out of their pocket and just hands it to the people to give to them. Right there. Confidence. Okay? Showing a degree of confidence. Okay? Showing the public, hey, I'm confident. I'm your man. Okay? I'm your candidate for presidency. Okay? This is called war. This is called psychological warfare. And it's how you control the masses. Because if you get them to fight for a cause, you've already won the battle. And that's why that one little verse by Sun Tzu spoke to me so well in the form of psychological warfare. Because of the fact that if you think about it, you look at all these ads between the Republicans, senators, Democrats, they're always slandering each other. They're always hounding each other. Why? Because they want to wage a war. They it is literally a a warfare battle. Okay? Then you need to get away from this person because they are ruining America. You got to stay away from this person because they have a bad reputation. They align themselves with oil companies for profit. They align themselves with people who deny seniors main care, Medicare or SSI, whatever. Okay. And it goes back every so often between the Republicans and the Democrats, which is why, number one, I don't get into politics. I have no need to, but now that I'm in psychology, it's like you're noticing all this stuff. Okay. For an example, I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff here. Psychology is the practice of discipline or discipleship of the mind and the actions of self and that of others. Some of the things that you can look up yourself are the Betty Crocker paradox, Fainting Ladies of Obama, the art of seduction, and the art of manipulation. Okay. Sigmund and Freud's theories, for an example, of savage barbarism, control the masses, advertising and marketing, and hidden irrationalism of self. Okay. The inner self should be released and not controlled or contained. The greedy self, through desired feeding, and you got causes and desires through mass democrat democracies. Okay, and it started with Edward Barnes, which was the nephew of yeah, feud. Okay, basically he believed that human nature in the 1920s was both unconscious, sexual, and aggressive drives. And through images of products, you could control the wants and desires of others. Really like that. So there was a lot of information that was put forth. And like I said, I already have maybe just from Monday to today, I've already got about half this book, this one little book full. Okay. Just this one little book. I got about a quarter to a half full just on notes already. And that was just from philosophy. That was just from psychology perspectives, through religious and political perspectives, not just the medical mind. Okay. I mean, if you look at, say, for an example, let's look at business and corporations. Why is it considered to be cutthroat? Why do you get paid so little while the owners keep getting richer? Well, I started listening to Rich Dad Poor Dad, How the Rich Get Richer. These are audio books that you can get from Scribd. And then I started looking at dark psychology. I started looking at cultural and social aspects of this, and it's amazing to see how so many people accept the established norm, because it's that entrapment. On one hand, it's cause and effect. If you try to benefit yourself in one area, you lose something in another. Okay. For an example, let's say, for an example, you're on Social Security income. You try to better yourself by having a part-time job, and they allow a part-time job. But guess what? Their cause is that job, right? Well, what is the how should I say this? The effect that transpires from this. Yes, you make some more profit, but guess what? You have to deal with Social Security, because they'll connect. They, instead of coming out and saying, "Hey, we didn't do a 6 month review, or we need your pay stubs to make sure you're still eligible for gaining Social Security income." Guess what? They say, "Oh, we overpaid you, so we're going to take it for such and such amount of months." Or say, for an example, "Oh, you overworked, so you owe us $16,000, even though you only worked a penny over." Okay, you see how that works? It's a privilege, but it is also a hassle, and it comes down to you as the individual and what you want to do. Now, when it comes to the ordinary folks and you're in business, you are limited on what you're allowed to say, what you're allowed to talk about, the limiting of the First Amendment of freedom of speech. But yet you also notice that we're going right back to the meetings with this RA and the HR and the head of the facility, because if they allow one aspect of religious to take place and take root in the facility, from, say, for an example, the residents or that of your fellow coworkers, and yet yours is being denied, that's called religious discrimination. Okay. So being singled out, harassed, and basically alone comes with the territory on the left hand path. On the left hand path, we know this path is not for the faint of heart. Not many people can do what we do. Okay. So, in a psychological warfare, you have to get into that state of mind of being an alpha predator. You have to know your rights, you have to know your laws, and you have to have the balls to enforce it. Okay. This is psychology for you. Why is it that most people would rather accept 10 cents an hour, 10 cents an hour, and not learn how to make money work for you? So many people claim that they are following their dreams, but you're still a slave to the system. Because if you look at all these paradoxes, the art of manipulation, the art of marketing and advertising, you look at the Betty Crocker paradox, or you look at the fainting ladies of Obama. You even go into society's norms. You go into any given religion, and you are going to see you're stuck between two parties, the mama and the daddy aspect. Okay. And this was the best way I heard this. This was the best way I've ever heard this described, is because when you look at the mama factor, okay, let's say the mama factor would be the Republicans. Okay. The Republicans are like, well, we gotta make better healthcare. We gotta, you know, do things for the people. The nurturing factor, the compassion factor is all from the mama paradigm. Okay. But then you have the big bad daddy factor, the Democrats. We got to get shit done. We've got to enforce the laws. We got to enforce and make sure that this shit is getting done. But yet, does anything ever get done? No. So the daddy factors, such as Trump, became the evil villain to which they're still hounding today. And now people are seeing and regretting that they voted for Biden. You see, this is the factor that they play. Even in a religious perspective, if you think about it, you have the upper echelon of, say, for example, the deacons, the reverends, the pastor, the priests and the bishops and so forth. They hang out by themselves and they have their own creed. They will tell you what to believe. When I get invited to the First Apostolic Church, which is now the First Pentecostal Church now because it got a name brand and a facelift. Years ago, it was when I learned how to become a minister and everything like that. And this evangelist, he looked at me and he said, "God is the only way, but you cannot do it by yourself." The entrapment factor. Okay. So if you look at the populace, you have the elders doing their thing, the youth doing their thing, and the congregation doing theirs. Okay, so you got different aspects of the church. Okay, so understanding your opponent, understanding the fears and the drives of your opponents will help you and benefit you in the long run because you'll be able to apply the gnosis to your life. So when you start standing up and becoming enlightened, people are going to fall away from you. They're going to hate you. They are going to hate you because you're succeeding. They hate themselves for not doing what you're doing. Sad fact, but it's true. So I've been planning to do things for a while, and I know my followers have been wanting me to do things for a while. So I set up a Odyssey account, okay, for creators, and I'm trying to figure out how to add my credit card to that, or at least a debit card or a bank account or whatever to it. For some reason, it's not letting me. But one of the things that you guys wanted, and I am listening to this, is you wanted me to have a Patreon account. Because some of you wanted to support me and what I do as an educator of the occult and religious factors. Well, back in August 4th, I took the exams and I was looking to become a bishop of occult sciences, and it turned out that I was a little too smart. I knew my trade a little too well, and I ended up becoming an archbishop. So I also passed the doctrine of divinity, so which basically means I have a degree in philosophical studies of religion. Okay. Now, according to the group that I went through, I'm known as a doctor in this area. Well, I could care less about that title. It does not mean shit to me. I will tell you that right off the bat. So don't come over here and go, "Hey, Doctor Hyson," you know. No, don't do that. I really don't want to be known as a doctor. I'm educating myself. I'm doing it because I want to do it for myself. Okay. I love teaching you guys and I love sharing with you traits that will benefit you in the long run. Because if I share my knowledge and my wisdom with you and give you references and sources, guess what? You get to take those references and sources and learn for yourself. You're not just getting somebody else's experiences and their knowledge to cut through a lot of the bullshit, or as we refer to it in the kitchen as brown sugar, BS. So it's one of those things that you're seeing all of this aspect. So you're navigating the system and you're learning to play the system for your benefit, not somebody else's. You're not playing their game, you're playing your own. So instead of looking at yeah, I know, right? And then trust me, I am proud of myself because I never thought about enlightening myself. I used to just simply exist. I used to just exist from one day or the other and just doing whatever I was, you know, what suited my fancy. But about 6 years ago, I stepped into a world that basically forced me to take a good, strong look at myself. And when I made the conscious decision to follow this path, I left Satanism behind and I started practicing necromancy on a full time basis. I started learning about myself. I started learning about my past and seeing my past for what it was and what transpired there was my own doings. But more so how it shaped my work, my life, and made me who I am today. And it's interesting to see just how necromancy within a spiritual communion with deitas, say, be it demons or ancient gods, even reanimated or reincarnated spirits, for an example, if you're reanimating spirits into their bodies or another body, or if you're conjuring a spirit, these spirits have a way of leading you to this understanding. And this is why it's called apotheosis, because it's about self-learning, it's about self-understanding, and no one else can do the work for you. You have to be the one to apply it and to seek it out. That's why in hermeneutics, the term occult means hidden. Gnosis means hidden, meaning you have to seek it out. You have to read between the lines and you have to sit there and apply it to your life. And that's the thing that is ironic, because in 6 years, I look back today and I see how far I've come. I see how far my better half has come since she and I got together. I'm proud of her for how far she's come, and I'm proud of myself for how far I've come, okay? So it's one of those things where you have to make the conscious decision. Do I wanna be a follower, or do I wanna be a partner? Do I wanna be an alpha? That's where you have to make the decision. It does not matter what aspect of your life you're trying to improve in. You have to be the one to learn about it. You have to be the one to find the cracks or the crevices, if you will, that proverbial hole in the dike, so to speak. The dam. Do you want to plug that as a warm body? Or do you want to break that fucker down and say, guess what? I'm here. I'm grabbing the bull by the proverbial balls and giving it a big old twist to the point where I'm ruling my own life. Because that's what it takes. It takes something severe to transpire, to motivate some change. For a couple of examples, look at 9/11. That could have been prevented. That could have been prevented. Religious slavehood, slavery has always been around in one form or another. We claim to be the free world, when in fact we're not. That is the illusion. Slavery is still to get here in one way or the other, either to the culture, the populace, to a religious foundation, or to the government. You look at the laws and how they're set up. You look at the government and how they constantly hound each other to the point where nothing gets done, and yet they claim that shit's getting done. Where's the proof? Where's the evidence of that? Instead of accepting things at face value, why don't you question? In fact, why don't you seek out that knowledge, that gnosis, and see exactly where you can improve your life? Have the spirits that you work with pull that veil back to show you the truth. Let them lead you to the truth. I was talking with a bishop from the Catholic Church last Sunday, this past Sunday, and he asked me how I was doing, and I told him about the last couple of months, and he says, "Wow, well, growth is needed, definitely. Observation, definitely. You hit that on the head." And he says, "I'll keep you in my prayers, but just remember, you're the ruler of your own domain." And he wasn't wrong about that. You are the ruler of your domain. Your destiny is in your own hands. Rise or fall is in your own two hands, on your own 2 feet. And that's why I always said that if you can do something, do it. Hell, even Marcus Aurelius in the Book of Meditation said, if anything is possible for a man, it too is possible for you. Okay? Think about that for just a minute. Look at all the philosophers from Plato to Crato to Marcus Aurelius, Sun Tzu. How many of these people, these great philosophers, went down in history? Look at history within folklore. Look at all, the world history. Archaeology. Look at um, the Trojan War. What was that one soldier? Who his mother said, "You're meant for great things. You're the greatest swordsman in all the land, but you're gonna go because you will be remade as a living god. Why? Because your name will go down in history for one of the greatest fucking battles ever to be fought throughout history." Julius Caesar, you look at the feats that he did. You look at Napoleon. What did he do? The Maid of Lorraine nation inspired a nation. Okay? You can do this too, but you got to have faith in yourself. You got to have faith in the spirits, in the demons, and the jinn, the orisha, the loa, whichever system that you are in. You gotta have absolute fealty to these beings. If you're in a temple, a church, whatever, fealty of worship, commitment, and dedication to your path is needed. That's why when I said I look back at the last 6 years and I see how far I've come. I look back and I see how far my better half has come. Hell, my son is considered one of the smartest kids in his class. One of the smartest kids. The only downfall is he's got a little bit of a speech impediment. He's having a hard time pronouncing things, just like I do. That's not his fault. That's just genetics. You can blame it on genetics, but you can do something about it. You can say those same word like a dozen times. In my day, they would have had you write it out like a dozen times on the chalkboard. You know, they would have you repeat, saying it out loud until you had it correct. It was that psychological warfare, that psyops within your own mind. But you look at what you're able to accomplish. Enlightenment, constant education. That is what it's about. You can do this too. Did I ever see myself as becoming a minister? No. I just woke up one day and realized that people saw me as an elder. Did I ask for that? No. I was just being a warlock, practicing warlock and just doing what I do best. I study, I practice, and I just put things forth. Here I am now, 12 years later, an archbishop. I have a degree in Christian theology. I have a degree, a doctorate of divinity as a multi-faith minister. Multi-faith ministry. Do you know how long it takes just to get that? That's a long time. That's 30 years of experience. Hard work. I'm talking blood, sweat, and tears. So when we say that the left-hand path is not for everyone, it's not for the faint of heart. We're not fucking joking. You're the only one who can do it. We can. What's that old expression in the book of Matthews? I think it's Matthew 7, 13 and 14, I believe is the verse, where it says that there are many roads, but only one gate. Think about it. You're the only one to follow those roads and to transgress those roads. Your mind, your body, your world. Shape it, mold it like clay. Build a strong foundation and continue your journey through forever enlightenment. I want to thank the Black Tower for jumping on here with me. I haven't really read down through all the things that you just posted here, but just some of them. I've been kind of just keeping my eye on it. Um, Sharing a little bit of gnosis is out of kindness because it kind of gives the adept, the neophyte, the acolyte, a little bit of an insight, a beginning point of start, a place to start. So yeah, that is something that is very good. And I agree on the laws of equilibrium. It should always be kept in mind. Rich Dad Poor Dad is it's called Why the Rich Keep Get Richer. Okay, the Why the Rich Get Richer is the second book to the Rich Dad Poor Dad. These are both in audiobooks. You can find them on Scribd, along with Dark Psychology, Thanatology, Sociology, and many other books in PDF format and or audio. So you can actually get those. Um, you can download them, you can save them, and just pay. I think it's like $13, 13, $15 now a month for a monthly subscription for Scribd. So it's very cheap and very good. Um, and that it is. It is lonely, painful, and scary. And the way it was actually described to me, Black Tower, by my elder was like this: when you are meeting resistance, that means you're on the right path. It means it's a path worthy of your time. And he's right. I have to say that he is right, because when you push through all that traversity, all that that hostility, you pass, you push through the tribulations and the trials, you come out stronger. You come out with that knowledge and that wisdom, and you come out better for it, hands down. So he was right about that. Correct. I mean, hell, even Denzel Washington did an interview once, and he said there's an old expression that if the devil is not attacking you, then you're doing something wrong. But if he is attacking you, you're doing something right. You see, it's that psychological perspective. It comes down to what you view as being good and evil. Even Friedrich Nietzsche said this in his book, Good and Evil, Beyond Good and Evil. I recommend that book to you. Um, yeah, Dr. Michael. Wow. Yeah, Doctrine of Divinity and Philosophy of Religions. Still mind blowing. Amazing. The funny thing is, I actually got, yeah, right there. So, and then the Doctrine of Divinity. There's my certificates for the courses that I took. So, proof right there. And I posted photos of this on my account, anyways. So, you guys can actually go through my photos and actually see them. I can't believe I started this journey back in 2011 when I became a ordained deacon, and then in 2013 an ordained priest, and to 2022 an archbishop. Wow, freaking long journey, long journey. It's mind blowing. You're welcome, and thank you. Yeah, it was all over. I think people have been showing it on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. So I mean, it's very widely seen and viewed. But you got to remember that Denzel Washington's also a Christian, so which is all right. I mean, I got nothing against the man. The guy's very wise. He's got a lot of good philosophical perspectives. And he's an elder, so you got to really have respect for him on that. The title is just something that you've earned. It's not given upon you or bestowed upon you. It's something that you have to earn. You got to apply yourself and do the work. So it's very cool. But anyways, I've been a little busy this morning as well. I've been doing dishes, putting stuff away, and I've got laundry going through. So I mean, it's been pretty good. And so let me tell you about the changes that I've started doing. As you can tell, I no longer have long hair. I chopped it off. I did this Monday. Um, my my better half wanted to go get a haircut and get her nails done, so it was like, you know what? It's time for a change. You know, it's time for a change. So, even though I want, my job ended, basically, I was sent home because I told the RA literally where to go, and yet they kept her there, even though she was the one that was the issue. So basically, that became sexist and discriminatory right there, which is why I turned the facility over to the Department of Justice. You don't want to listen to your employees. Well, guess what? You're going to listen to Big Brother, especially since you got all these labor laws violations, and you're in violation of so many of them, and you're not correcting them. So you don't want to do it. You're going to be forced to. So guess what? You know what? I don't care. I really don't care about it. I was bored with that job anyways. There was real I could do that stuff in my sleep, and it's only been a year, a little over a year. Um, so I ended up taking a day of reflection and trying to figure out what do I want to do. Now, first of all, what I wanted to do was take like a week off before I did anything and just kind of relax, hang out with my family and stuff like that. But I ended up, I ended up having went to use my card and ended up getting scammed. I had massive amounts of fraud on my accounts, so it was kind of surprising. So I spent all day yesterday dealing with the bank and making all kinds of phone calls, having these um, these sites closed down that I did not open up or give permission to have open up. So I mean, I was out like over $1,000. Not joking, and luckily, I'm able to get about $800 back out of that, out of, about 1,100 $1,200. So, that's not bad. I mean, 2, 300, who gives a shit, right? You know, it's chump change, but at least I'll be getting most of it back within about 10 to 15 days. So, minor setback there, but what I did do is I took into consideration I was going back over all the comments and everything from you, the viewers, and my followers, my loyal followers, and those of you that like learning from me and like what I do. And believe me, I'm honored that you do. And I'm honored that you follow me. And it's a privilege having you follow me and liking my work. So I'm glad I'm able to give back to you in that way. And so I was going over this stuff, and it's like, you know what? I want to do um, a Patreon page because that was one of the things that you wanted and you requested. Unfortunately, YouTube updated their mandates back in January, and I found this out along with one of my elders. So, um, yes, I know. I actually go through PayPal. They're the best company and corporation I know, and they honor everything. And if you have an issue, they will be an intermediary for you, either to get your money or the product or even a reimbursement. You know, so I mean, I've only had a couple of issues over 10 years, and they've been there both times. So I am grateful for them. Um, so, anyways, so what I did was I a couple weeks ago I started a portfolio and I got into investing and stocking. And I reached out to my apprentice, and I inquired about how to do this and what the best way is to do it. And I even did my own homework. And the two apps that I downloaded for myself, yeah, those were not good. And so he ended up sending me a link, and I signed up for it and filled everything out. And I now have, I believe it's 68% what do they call that? ETI or ETFs, which is basically stocks, bonds, basically investments. And I've got roughly about 31, 32% investments through my stocks and bonds and everything. So that's actually going good too. So, and I'm going to let that sit for a long time before I start doing anything. And so, even though I can't set up a Patreon account right now on YouTube because I don't have the watch times or the subscribers, I think I need like 300 more subscribers. I'm at was it 600 and was it 80? I think 680. I want to say 81 or 82 subscribers right now, and I've got to get at least 1,000 for that before I can open up a Patreon page. But I did already. I was walked through. One of my elders walked me through how to go through YouTube Studios and set it up as a business account, which is awesome. Because now that when I get to that point, I will be notified that I can begin the Patreon account and open up a business account as well that goes along with it. And because I have stocks in Amazon, guess what? I even set up a business account through them, almost like a partnership. So that's pretty good too. So there is a lot of good changes going on. a lot of good changes that I'm seeing benefits from. And even though I'm not working for somebody else, I'm now beginning to work for myself, and I'm setting up a corporation for myself, a business for myself. And I even went underneath Facebook and I set up a new private group, and it is a group where there is a monthly fee, and it's called the Archbishop Angelus. Angelus, okay, Angelus is how it's spelled. Archbishop Angelus. Angelus is actually an 11th century prayer, just to let you know. It's Catholic. And what's interesting about this is when you learn, this name was given to me by my patron, Abaddon. So, who ironically was also is also my creator. So it was kind of cool to see to trace that name back and see how it's known as a dragon in Celtic and in a dark angel in Latin. But it's also a prayer that goes as far back as the 11th century. I thought that was pretty cool, and it was very inspirational. It's called the Angelus Prayer, and it was like, damn, I want to download. If I can get my hands on that, I would love to download that and kind of just read it. To be given a name that's based off three different, you know, historical events. Things like being a folkloric dragon or an angelic being of the night. Whatever. And I know my haters, they're gonna say, "Oh, what about Angelus? The vampire with a soul." Ooh, that's with a U-I-U-S at the end. If you actually watch either Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Angel, the spinoff, you will notice that it's with an I-U-S, not a U-S. I don't follow Hollywood produced films that much, so I used to a long, long time ago, but no, not anymore. It's all boring. They've taken the good stuff off and gotten rid of it. Not even worth watching. But so yeah, so this group is called Archbishop Angelus, and it eventually I'm going to be linking all the accounts to my Odyssey account. Okay, right now my YouTube channel is connected to my Odyssey account, and I'm trying to get my PayPal account connected to it as well. And what's I'm going to be start selling phylacteries and stuff like that soon, and my as usual, I will be offering my services as a minister for weddings, funerals, and everything in between, along with counseling services, and most importantly, my services within spell casting. Okay, and so that's all going to be there as well. And if I can get a website set up, I'll probably be doing that as well. But for right now, my services are this: I charge 150 for consultations, $300 for spell work. Okay, apprenticeships, $300. Okay, um, that's if you want to be my personal apprentice. Okay, I do cut that down for special occasions. I charge roughly about 150, a month, and that's about $300 a year, basically, for like about 2 to 3 months. Um, I am considering doing a yearly apprenticeship and setting a specific amount of money for that. Not really sure how I'm going to do that one yet, but um, outside of that, I do charge roughly of where I have to travel to for the ministry. Okay, so if you want me to marry you, you want me to do a funerary rite, I have to look at the prices and the costs of how to get there, where to get there, what do I have to do to get there, what do I have to spend, and that's how I charge on that. Okay. But my services are 150 for consultations, $150 for apprenticeship per month, and $300 for spell casting. That's right off the bat. and I'm charging roughly about $60 for the phylacteries that I do. Okay, that is because of the shipping and handling costs as well, and not just the material that I have to go get. All right, so that's the list of prices for my services. Okay, eventually I will have that underneath my profile, and that will come soon. All right. So this is up to you, and I want to thank you as my followers and subscribers, because without you, this channel would not exist. I mean, it probably would exist either way, but I look at it as my personal grimoire. So it depicts my ups and downs, and it depicts the good and the bad, but also the failures and the the benefits, really. So I mean, it's not just a record keeping for me, but it is also something for you to learn from, which is awesome. All right. Oh, it is? Okay. That's good to know. But and same, my friend. And thank you for being on here with me. For those of you who are going to jump on here after, thank you. And with that said, I got to go switch the laundry over. So, and put two more loads through. Oh, yeah, it's going to be a busy day. And I got to pick my son up at 3. So, from school. Um, so, with that said, have a good one. And remember to always keep those horns up high. All right? Keep them held high. Whatever you preach, always back it up, and always make yourself available to the public, because you are responsible for what you say and do. All right? Kiken, you welcome. Welcome to the channel. Have a good night.